Hip-hop has always thrived on competition. It's in the genre's DNA. From the park jams in the Bronx to the global arenas of today, the spirit of one-upmanship has fueled its greatest moments. Battles are more than just sport, they are a crucible. They test an artist's skill, their wit, their heart, and their claim to the throne. When two of the biggest artists on the planet decide to engage, the entire culture holds its breath. The stakes are impossibly high. Legacies are written and rewritten in the span of a few bars. Careers can be made or they can be irrevocably damaged. It's a high-wire act with no safety net, and the world is watching. In the modern era, no two artists have held more sway over the landscape of rap than Drake and Kendrick Lamar. For over a decade, they have been the undisputed titans, the twin pillars supporting the genre's commercial and critical success. Their eventual collision felt not just possible, but inevitable. The quiet before the storm was the most unsettling part of all. The game was about to change, forever. Drake, born Aubrey Graham in Toronto, Canada, emerged from a unique background. He was a child actor on the popular teen drama Degrassi, The Next Generation. This was not the typical origin story for a future rap icon. With his early mixtapes like So Far Gone, he introduced a new sound to the mainstream. It was a blend of introspective, melodic rapping and smooth R&B singing. He didn't just make hits, he crafted the soundtrack for a decade. On the other side of the country, a different kind of force was rising from Compton, California. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth was a student of the game, a lyrical prodigy steeped in the traditions of West Coast legends like Dr. Dre, Tupac, and NWA. His breakout project, Section .80, and later his major label debut, Good Kid, Mad City, were cinematic explorations of life in his hometown. Kendrick wasn't just a rapper, he was a storyteller, a griot for the modern age. For years, these two artists coexisted at the top, representing two different paths to greatness. Drake was the undisputed king of the charts. Kendrick, meanwhile, became the king of acclaim. They were the yin and yang of modern rap. Their paths crossed early on. They collaborated on tracks like Buried Alive Interlude and Poetic Justice. But beneath the surface of this camaraderie, the competitive nature of hip-hop was always present. When you have two individuals who both believe they are the best to ever do it, friendship can only stretch so far. The fragile peace was shattered on August 12, 2013. That was the day Big Sean released the track Control. The song itself was solid, but it was a guest verse from Kendrick Lamar that would make it legendary. In a fiery, breathtaking display of lyrical hubris, Kendrick called out nearly every major rapper of his generation by name. He mentioned J. Cole, Big Crit, Whale, Pusha T, Meek Mill, $AP Rocky, Mac Miller, and most notably, Drake. He declared his love for them but then immediately drew a line in the sand. He wasn't just trying to compete with them, he was trying to metaphorically murder them and take their core fans. The verse was a declaration of war. Kendrick wasn't just claiming to be the best, he was positioning himself as the king of New York, a bold and provocative claim for a West Coast rapper. He was challenging the entire power structure of the industry. The verse immediately went viral. It was all anyone in the hip-hop world could talk about. Artists scrambled to respond. Fans debated its meaning and its audacity. It was a moment that fundamentally shifted the landscape. Drake's initial public response was cool and dismissive. In an interview with Billboard, he downplayed the verse's significance. But his actions told a different story. On his subsequent album, Nothing Was the Same, he seemed to take subtle aim at Kendrick's newfound aggression. Following the Control verse, the rivalry entered a new phase. For the next 10 years, Drake and Kendrick engaged in a chess match played out across albums, features, and interviews. Fans became detectives, searching for clues and connecting the dots. In 2015, on his track King Kunta, Kendrick Lamar took a clear shot, rapping, "A rapper with a ghostwriter? What the fuck happened?" This was a direct reference to the brewing controversy surrounding Drake and allegations of his use of Quentin Miller as a ghostwriter. Drake, a master of the subliminal diss, rarely responded with direct fire. Instead, he would use his platform to subtly undermine Kendrick's position. He would often refer to himself as the undisputed number one, framing any other claimant as a distant second. Another key moment came with Drake's collaboration with Future, What a Time to Be Alive. The project was a celebration of commercial dominance and lavish lifestyles, a stark contrast to the dense political themes of Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly. It was an ideological clash played out through music. The jabs became more frequent and more pointed. When J. Cole released False Prophets in 2016, many believed he was mediating, speaking to both artists about the pitfalls of their respective positions. The entire industry seemed to be orbiting their conflict. Social media became a key battleground, with fans dissecting every lyric and debating who was winning the Cold War. It was a decade-long buildup of unresolved tension, a promise of a future conflict that grew more intense with each passing year. So, the Cold War finally turned hot in March 2024. The catalyst, a song called Like That, from a collaborative album by Future and Metro Boomin. The track featured a surprise verse from Kendrick Lamar that was anything but subtle. He directly addressed J. Cole's recent track First Person Shooter, where Cole had referred to himself, Drake, and Kendrick as the big three of modern rap. But Kendrick flatly rejected this whole notion of shared greatness. He rapped, "Motherfuck the big three, nigga, it's just big me." The impact was immediate and explosive. The verse dominated social media and music news for weeks. It was a direct, unambiguous challenge. Kendrick had not only reignited the feud, but had also escalated it to a whole new level of intensity. J. Cole was the first to respond with a track called 7-Minute Drill, but he quickly retracted it, expressing regret for engaging in the conflict and bowing out of the battle. His retreat left Drake standing alone to face Kendrick's challenge, which raised the stakes even higher. The world waited for Drake's response. And on April 19, 2024, he delivered it with 2 tracks. The first, Push-Ups, was a comprehensive diss track that actually leaked online before its official release. In it, Drake went after Kendrick's height, his record deal with Top Dog Entertainment, and his past collaborations. Just hours after Push-Ups officially dropped, Drake released a second diss track titled Tailor-Made Freestyle. This track was a bizarre and audacious piece of psychological warfare. Using AI-generated voices of Tupac Shakur and Snoop Dogg, 2 of Kendrick's West Coast idols, Drake taunted Kendrick for his delayed response. After weeks of anticipation, Kendrick Lamar unleashed his response on April 30, 2024. The track was a 6.5-minute epic titled Euphoria. It was a multi-part beat-switching masterpiece of lyrical warfare. Kendrick methodically dismantled Drake's persona piece by piece. He attacked Drake's authenticity as a black man, his use of slang, his parenting, and his character. He opened the track by feigning friendliness before launching into a furious tirade, declaring, "I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk, I hate the way that you dress." But he wasn't finished. Just 3 days later, on May 3rd, he dropped a second track, 616 in LA. It was a calmer, more menacing track that continued to chip away at Drake's camp, suggesting he had moles and informants within Drake's OVO label. Just hours after 616 in LA, Drake fired back with Family Matters. It was a long, cinematic track accompanied by a music video. In it, Drake made shocking allegations about Kendrick, claiming infidelity and even accusing him of domestic abuse. The song was a brutal piece of character assassination. What happened next was perhaps the most shocking moment in the history of rap beefs. Less than an hour after Family Matters dropped, Kendrick responded with Meet the Grams. The track was addressed directly to Drake's son Adonis, his mother Sandy, and his father Dennis. But the most devastating part was the reveal of a secret daughter that Drake had allegedly been hiding from the world. Kendrick painted a picture of Drake as a deadbeat father and a sexual predator, ending the track with the chilling line, "They not like us." The track was so swift, so personal, and so devastating that it instantly shifted the entire narrative of the beef. The dust had barely settled from the nuclear explosion of Meet the Grams when Kendrick Lamar delivered the finishing blow. Less than 24 hours later, on May 4th, he released Not Like Us. Produced by DJ Mustard, the track was the opposite of the dark psychological horror of its predecessor. It was an upbeat West Coast party anthem designed for clubs, radio, and public celebration. The song was infectious, but its lyrics were just as venomous. Kendrick doubled down on his accusations, labeling Drake and his OVO camp as certified pedophiles and colonizers of black culture. The public reaction was immediate and decisive. Not Like Us became a cultural phenomenon. It topped the Billboard Hot 100, a rare feat for a diss track. It was played at sporting events, in clubs, and at protests across the country. The song's simple but powerful refrain, "They not like us," became a rallying cry. Fans overwhelmingly declared Kendrick the winner of the beef. The narrative had shifted completely. Drake, who had long been the master of public opinion, found himself on the defensive. Drake attempted one final response with a track called The Heart Part 6. In it, he tried to deny Kendrick's allegations, claiming that he had intentionally fed Kendrick's team false information about a secret daughter as a trap. However, the response was widely seen as weak and unconvincing. The battle was over. The feud left Drake's public image significantly damaged. Kendrick, on the other hand, emerged from the battle with his status elevated to near mythical levels. The power dynamic at the top of hip-hop had been violently and permanently altered. The Drake and Kendrick beef was more than just a personal rivalry. It was a cultural event that sent shockwaves through the entire music industry. For a few weeks in the spring of 2024, it was the biggest story in the world, eclipsing news cycles and dominating online conversation. The beef generated hundreds of millions of streams, drove massive engagement on social media, and proved that in an era of fractured attention spans, a compelling narrative can still captivate a global audience. It was a testament to the enduring appeal of competition in its purest form. The feud had a profound impact on the artists involved, forcing them to produce some of the most aggressive and personal music of their careers. For Kendrick, it was a reaffirmation of his lyrical supremacy. For Drake, the beef forced him into a defensive posture he had rarely occupied. Beyond the two main combatants, the feud pulled in a wide array of other artists and producers. Metro Boomin, Future, Rick Ross, and The Weeknd all chose sides, illustrating the deep divisions within the industry. It revived conversations about ghostwriting, artistic authenticity, and the ethics of lyrical warfare. Moreover, the feud revitalized the tradition of the rap battle itself. In an era where many felt that high-stakes lyrical warfare was a thing of the past, Drake and Kendrick proved that it could still be the most compelling spectacle in music. They showed a new generation of fans what a top-tier beef looks like. It set a new standard for what is expected from artists at the highest level. The beef served as a powerful reminder that at its core, hip-hop is a competitive sport, and when the titans clash, the entire world stops to listen. So what is the ultimate legacy of this monumental clash? On one hand, the feud can be seen as a negative force. The allegations made were incredibly dark and personal, moving far beyond the realm of sport and into character assassination. It raised a valid question: how far is too far? Conversely, there is a strong argument that this feud was incredibly good for hip-hop. It was a shot of adrenaline for the entire genre. It generated excitement, debate, and passion on a scale not seen in years. It centered lyricism and storytelling at a time when many feared those elements were being devalued. What happens next is the great unknown. It is difficult to imagine a path to reconciliation. The things that were said are not easily unsaid. It seems most likely that the two artists will exist in a state of permanent opposition, a cold war that could turn hot again at any moment. The beef has fundamentally redefined their careers and their public personas. Any future music they release will be viewed through the lens of this conflict. Ultimately, the Drake versus Kendrick feud will be remembered as a landmark moment in hip-hop history. It was a clash of two different ideologies, two different definitions of greatness, and two artists at the absolute peak of their powers. It was messy, ugly, brilliant, and utterly captivating. Whether it was a net positive or a net negative for the culture will be debated for years, but what is undeniable is its impact. It changed the game, it set a new standard for lyrical warfare, and it gave the world a story for the ages. The dust may have settled for now, but in hip-hop the war is never truly over. It's just waiting for the next beat to drop.